Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Balance and Birch podcast. I am your resident hypnotist here at Balance and Birch, Allie Ashman. And today we're going to be talking about something that so many people struggle with during the holidays, and that is holiday stress. And I'm not talking about the kind of stress where you're trying to get things done or get time off of work, wrapping your presents in time, etc. This is the kind of stress that many people just want to avoid the holidays together. For a while, and for some, while this holiday brings warmth and connection, for others, it brings pressure. It's complicated family dynamics. They're dealing with grief or financial strain, or the feeling that you're just supposed to feel happy and joyful when your heart's not in it. If that's you, you're in the right place, and we're going to talk about those things. You're not alone, and you're not doing anything wrong by feeling the way you're feeling, first and foremost. In this episode, we're going to talk openly and honestly about why the holidays can be hard, and more importantly, what you can do to support yourself. I'll always include some affirmations at the end to help you move forward every day in this season, and how you can create a holiday season that feels grounding instead of overwhelming. So sit back, relax, and let's take a deep breath together and dive in. So here we go. Inhale and exhale. Okay, I've got some notes here, and because I tend to ramble, so I ask you to bear with me. So let's talk about why the holidays are difficult for so many people. First and foremost, we have some difficult family dynamics. Everybody is different. You're born into a family where everybody might have different beliefs than you. Maybe you've considered yourself the odd one out, or maybe everybody looks at you differently, or you have a critical parent, or you have a family member that is an alcoholic or a drug addict, or you have difficulty getting along with some of your family members. Every family is different, and every family is not perfect. It's not a picture perfect Norman Rockwell holiday for everybody. It's not a full house Christmas. It's not a Hanukkah that everybody wants. Now, I would like to discuss the fact that I celebrate Christmas, and a lot of the examples that I'll use are for Christmas. And I want you to know that I honor every holiday and every belief. So whether you believe in Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, or any other festive December holiday, I want you to know you are included. I will draw from my own experience, and I do love and honor every holiday that you celebrate. So don't feel disenfranchised if I don't mention your holiday, please. Um, so one of the things that often happen in holidays with family dynamics is old patterns tend to resurface. If you have a critical parent, maybe that little comment reminds you of something that happened when you were a teenager or when you were little, and you know um, maybe you had struggled with your weight growing up, and you know you have an extra piece of pie and you get that side eye from mom. Those things can raise your stress levels, absolutely. Expectations and roles of pressures of who you used to be. Maybe you've changed, maybe you've learned and grown, and you've really changed, but people still look at you as that little kid who was obsessed with dinosaurs or whatever it is. And you really haven't shown them, they haven't seen your individuation. And so that can cause some stress as well. Um, Guilt tripping and emotional manipulation. This is a common thing in many families. Um, we'll talk more about this a little bit later, but things like if you're opting out, you might hear, oh, well, so and so's going to be here and you're really going to miss them. And they were really wanted to see you. And oh, Susie's going to be disappointed. Um, and they're going to try every trick in their book to try to guilt trip and manipulate you into being at this holiday event, even if you don't want to be there. I'm encouraging you to be strong. especially if you're a people pleaser. This is really difficult for people pleasers because you don't want to be viewed as the person who makes everybody unhappy. Um, so that is a big part of holiday stress, is that guilt and manipulation. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later on as well. Feeling responsible for everyone's comfort. Now, listen, this is, if you're playing host, it comes with the territory, but it is not your job to ensure that everybody has a great time. If you're the eldest daughter, or you've been assigned to make sure everybody has a drink in their hand at all times, no, you can say no. You can definitely opt out of that. You can say, I'm just going to be responsible for myself. If you're the host, you can put the food out, say, help yourself, make your plate, and go sit down. It is not your job to make everybody else feel happy. Adults are perfectly capable of filling their own plates, getting their own drinks. If you're hosting, I suggest to make things easier for your guests. Put out a plate, put out a table with drinks and food buffet style so everybody can help themselves. Make sure it's equipped with napkins, plates, silverware, whatever anybody's going to need. Try to anticipate those needs before they come over. And if anybody makes an unusual request, direct them to how they can help themselves. Once again, it is not your job to make sure everybody is happy. They just need what they need, and everybody can help themselves. Now, with the exception of children, children are going to need, direction and things like that. But unless you're their parent, it's not really your job. You can say, hey, sodas are in the cooler over there, help yourself if it's okay with mom and dad, whatever. But once again, you are ultimately responsible for you, and it is not your job to put on a dog and pony show to make sure everybody is happy at the holiday. Grief. A lot of people are dealing with the loss of a loved one, and especially in the first year, that grief makes the holidays very, very difficult and very stressful. And that's very common. It's a painful time, and you remember, especially if you had a very close relationship with that person, it can definitely amplify their absence. Traditions can feel incomplete or painful. And in those kinds of cases, I'm going to encourage you to maybe forgo those traditions. If they don't feel good to you and you feel obligated, you don't have to do them. Now, if it's something that's like, it makes me feel good to know that grandma would be happy that we're carrying on this tradition, go for it. But don't feel obligated. And if somebody says to you, oh, well, grandma really would have liked this, can we do this? If your heart's not in it, you can say, hey, I'm not there, but if this is a role that you want to take on, I'm happy to let you take care of that, and I will be present for it, but I'm not going to do that. If it's a special dish that she cooked and, maybe you don't even like cooking, and maybe your cousin does, or your brother, whatever. If they're willing to take on that tradition, if it's that important to them, you can give that up to them. Pressure to be festive when your heart is heavy. Now, listen, this is a big one. If you don't feel like showing up at the holiday event because your heart's not in it, don't force yourself to go, because it's only going to amplify those feelings. You're going to feel very sad, and you're going to try to put on a show, and it's not going to feel good in your body. If you are feeling called to stay home and eat a turkey sandwich or binge watch your favorite shows, whatever, do that. Do what makes you feel good, not obligated. I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to repeat myself a few times in this podcast. Do what makes you feel good, not obligated. Consumerism and financial stress. This is a big one, especially this year. 2025 has been a very difficult year for many, many people. We've had inflation, rising costs of things. We've had furloughs, layoffs. The government shutdown caused a lot of people to lose their jobs or, not get paid for some time. And those bills are still due. And prices of things have just soared. Even fast food meals have gotten very expensive. And it's okay to scale back for the holidays. But those financial strains really, really amplify the stress that we feel at the holidays. Um, Particularly, a lot of things that we've seen lately trending up is the consumer of culture of pushing bigger and better presents. Like everybody's got to have the latest thing, the biggest thing, the newest thing. Um, it seems like electronics seem to be getting more and more expensive, and they always seem to make their debut in October, November, uh, just in time for the holiday season. A lot of kids in my neighborhood want those e-bikes, and those are very, very costly. If you don't have the money for it, don't put yourself into more financial stress or credit card debt. We don't know what the future holds, and it was a very difficult year for a lot of people. Um, Social comparison when buying or spending. You might hear that Joe at your office is getting his kids a cruise. Everybody's getting a cruise this year, or everybody's getting, a Kate Spade purse or Coach bag or whatever. I don't subscribe to any of that. I don't know what's super expensive right now. But I'll tell you that just adds extra pressure and stress on you when you know that's, so and so's kids are getting the best of the best. That doesn't mean that they're going to remember those things. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. And this kind of ties into the last one, which is feeling obligated to overspend and overdeliver. You want to keep up with the Joneses, or you want to appear like the loving parent who gives the most expensive gifts, especially if your love language is gifts. Um, but just remember that giving an expensive gift does not equal the amount of love that you have for the other person. So, feeling the pressure to spend a lot of money on a gift just adds more stress to your holidays. So, here's how you can alleviate some of these holiday stressors from the financial stress, grief, family dynamics. Um, so, going back to family dynamics, let's talk about opting out or redefining the holidays. You can give yourself permission, and even I will give you permission. Let me know if you want me to write you a note to get you out of the holidays, just like it was gym class. You are allowed to skip events. You can stay home. You can create your own quiet celebration. This goes back to making your own turkey sandwich. Hey, you don't like turkey? Have a grilled cheese sandwich. You want to watch movies all day, whether they're holiday movies, Die Hard. Now there's whether that's a Christmas movie or an action movie, you decide. If you want to binge watch all the Harry Potter movies, do you. There are no rules. Enjoy the holidays for you. If you want to decorate a small tree in your living room and just keep it quiet, you can do that too. You do not owe anyone access to your time, energy, or emotional bandwidth. I'm going to say that again. You do not owe anyone your time, energy, or emotional bandwidth. You do not have the capacity to handle Great Aunt Linda's drinking problem when she starts telling you what she really thinks about people. You can say no. You can stay home. Or if Aunt Linda starts bringing out the whiskey or whatever, you can go home. You can say, I've really had a great time, but it's time for me to get going. You can have an obligation. You could say, I need to let the cat out. I need to let the dog out. I'm not feeling well. Whatever you need to do. Or you can straight up say, I am not cool with Aunt Linda's behavior. I am leaving. And it's perfectly okay to do that. It's perfectly okay to say, if Aunt Linda's going to be there, I will not. I am not comfortable in that situation. You are in charge of you. You do not have to go. You do not have to stay. You are not obligated to do anything. So here are some alternative options for you if you choose to stay home or leave to redefine your holiday. You can take a solo rest day. Sometimes a lot of us have demanding jobs where the only day we get off is that holiday. So stay home and rest. Enjoy yourself. You know, there's very few, but some restaurants are open. Go get takeout from somewhere. Take it home and crawl in bed and watch your favorite show or movie or whatever you want to do. You can have dinner with chosen friends or family, like a Friendsgiving. Um, or if you don't want to spend the entire holiday with the entire family, pick your favorite relatives that you do feel safe with and call them up and say, hey, can we get together and do our own little holiday? Because I don't have the mental capacity to deal with da 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 da. You know, I would really like to spend time with you. I feel safe with you. I love being with you. Let's spend time together. Let's enjoy our holiday together. And you don't have to go into detail as to why you don't want to spend time with the rest of the family. Let them know that you want to spend your time with them, and they'll love that for you. Take a peaceful walk, do some meditation, or a movie marathon. Like I said earlier, you can watch Die Hard, you can watch Friends. These are some of my favorite things to do. And I'm kind of stuck. I can't think of anything current. But if you're a Disney family, if you're a Disney fanatic, watch your favorite Disney movies. Just do what makes you happy. Listen to your favorite podcast. Balance and Birch has a few, I think you can download and listen to. Um, volunteer work. Spend some time at a food bank and serve other families and people who are less fortunate. You know, there's nothing better than giving back, and that will make you feel so good. And whatever it is that you're missing, you will get to feel during that time. Um, you will see the world in a different light, and it's really about the holidays are about giving, right? And this is your opportunity to give. So if that's what makes you feel good, do that. Look into a local food bank near you. And it doesn't have to be on the holiday itself. You know, sometimes the preparation beforehand is just as important as the day of serving and the cleanup afterwards. um, Booking a small getaway. Don't feel like going with the holidays. Last year for Thanksgiving, we decided to go to take a family trip to Disneyland because, frankly, I didn't want to cook. It was my turn to host, and I said, sorry, I'm just not feeling it this year. I want to take my kids on a vacation, and we went to Disneyland. We had a blast, and we did not feel guilty for missing out on the holiday with the family. So, whether it doesn't have to be a big extravagant vacation like that was, you could do a weekend getaway where you drive a couple hours and go camping or stay in a fancy hotel. You can even just stay in a hotel near your home just to, for a change of scenery. Whatever is in your budget and whatever feels right for you is the right thing for you. So, let's talk about setting boundaries with family. Um, you can decline without defending yourself. You can absolutely say, I am not going to be there this year, and you do not have to explain why. You can simply say, it's not for me this year. I'm not feeling well enough to go this year. You don't have to explain yourself or give reasons why you don't feel safe spending the holidays with your family. Saying no is enough. Saying no is a full sentence. Say it with me. No. Do you want to come to the holidays? Do you want to come to my house for the holidays this year? No. No, thank you. Why? I'm not feeling very festive this year. Well, why? I'm just not feeling it. And I appreciate you respecting that. That's it. And if they continue to poke, just keep repeating yourself. Okay? I have some lines here that you can use, and we'll get to those in a minute. There's one more thing that I just want to say is that guilt, any guilt that you're feeling or that they're trying to heap onto you, like more mashed potatoes onto your plate, guilt does not mean you are guilty or that you're doing anything wrong. You may feel guilt because that's been ingrained in you since birth. You know, maybe you had a parent who always made you feel guilty. Maybe there's religious things there that have been ingrained in you since you started going to church. There are certain religions that really make people feel guilty, and that's a conversation we can have another time. But you don't have to feel guilty. And just like I said, I'll repeat myself again. Just because you feel guilt does not mean you are guilty. That's something that is placed upon you, and you can overcome that. You do not have to feel that way. You did nothing wrong by saying no and protecting your peace. Now, when a family member says something to you like, but we always spend the holidays together, you can say something like, I understand, but this is different. And I'm choosing what feels healthiest for me in this moment. If they say, well, you're breaking tradition, you can say something like, traditions evolve. This year, I'm taking care of myself in a new way. This is my tradition this year. And that's true. Traditions do change. Tradition, there's nothing written in stone that says we have to follow XYZ tradition. For years, for example, this is completely random and different, but for years, what women only wore white at weddings, right? Wedding dresses were only white, but now we're seeing red and black and florals, and they're beautiful. Just because it breaks tradition doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It can be beautiful, it can be wonderful. So honor your tradition of taking care of you. If they say something like, well, you're being selfish, you can say that taking care of my mental and emotional well being isn't selfish, it's necessary. Taking care of my emotional, mental well being isn't selfish, it's necessary. And I will tell you that taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's selfless. Say that with me. Taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's selfless. Okay? And I know it's a cliche, but I do love the parallel of saying that the airplane oxygen mask. You put the oxygen mask on first, and then you can help others around you. If you're same thing with the cup. If your cup is not full, how can you pour into another's? Any cliche you want to use, it applies, because if you do not have the capacity to handle the family, it's not going to be good for you. It's only going to create more stress and trauma, especially if you're already trying to recover from these things. If they push, well, the family will be disappointed. Let's bring up cousin Susie again. You can tell her that I'm not responsible for managing anyone's disappointment. Well, Susie will be so disappointed. Well, you know what? That's Susie's problem. Susie is disappointed. I am just me. Susie is disappointed. So and so is disappointed. That's them. You're not responsible for anybody's feelings. Something that my husband used to tell me when we were early on in our marriage is I would say, well, you make me feel XYZ. And he would tell me, I can't make you feel anything. Okay? Nobody can make you feel anything. You feel what you feel. Their behaviors can cause a feeling on your behalf, but they can't make you. You can't make anyone feel disappointed. That comes from within. Okay? So now moving on to grief during the holidays. There are ways that you can honor your loved one. If you want to continue the holidays, something that I personally do every year, I lost my dad about 10 years ago, and he was in the Air Force, and he loved airplanes. He collected model planes. His office was beautifully decorated with all kinds of model airplanes and things, and he collected those Hallmark ornaments. And so I have a small tree for him that I put up every year. I decorate it by myself, and I just have a moment with my dad in spirit. And I place those ornaments on his tree, and not all of them fit. So I kind of add new ones every year. And, it's just a special moment. And every time I see that tree, I think of him, and I just know that he would be so proud that I did that in his honor. And another thing you can do is if the meal was the big thing, sometimes grandma always took care of the holiday meal. Set a place setting for her. Put a picture at the end of the table or light a candle and include her in the meal. Or if there was a special dish that Uncle Bob loved, make that dish in his honor. Say, Uncle Bob, this meal is for you. This dish, this acorn squash casserole is just for you. And know that from the other side, they'll be just touched and loved knowing that you're honoring them. Speak their name or share a memory before dinner. If you say a family prayer before you eat, you know, invite them in and say, hey, thanks for being here or whatever. You know, just, tell a story about your favorite holiday memory with that person or something funny that happened that you remember. And those will help bring some comfort to you along the way. Write a note or a letter and place it on the tree. If you don't have a Christmas tree, that's okay. Place it on the mantle or under the menorah or wherever you want. Place it next to the cookies for Santa plate. Whatever you want to do and you feel called to do is perfectly fine and special. So, or you can create a new tradition that symbolizes continuing bonds. Maybe you light a special candle every year, or whatever. You have a special gift that you gift to somebody less fortunate in their honor, or you make a donation in their honor to their favorite charity. Once again, I'm going to say whatever feels good to you and feels right is perfect. And it's at the end of the day, it's about honoring that loved one. And these are obligations. You are not required to do any of these things. But if you feel called to still remember them and bring them and invite them into your existence, do that if it makes you feel good. If it doesn't, and you will know if it doesn't, you don't have to do anything. They will understand, and you don't have to have any guilt associated with that. Whatever you do, just know that it is loved and honored. So uh, let's also reframe this experience and know that even though you can't see them, you may not necessarily be able to feel them, but know that they're still with you. Their love, their imprint, their present lives within you. And they're sharing their moment with you in their own way. And they're sending you love from wherever you believe that they are. So now let's shift gears and talk about consumerism and financial stress that is related to the holidays. One thing that I've done as my kids have gotten older is I've scaled down with them. I set a budget for them when they reach a certain age. I have an adult daughter and a teenage son, and they their budgets are different. It does not have to be equal across the board, and a lot of parents may disagree with me on that. But you know, there are certain things that one may need versus the other. So here's a few different options that you can do, whether this applies to your children or your immediate family or whoever. Um, and it's not something that I have subscribed to, but I know that it works with a lot of families, is the 4-gift rule. This is something they need, something to wear, something to read, and then something that they want. That way, you're kind of fulfilling all of their needs. Education is really important. Making sure that your kids read is really, really important. Of course, we all need clothes. We all need new underwear, new socks, whatever. And I know as a kid, we hated opening socks and underwear, but let me tell you, at my age, if somebody got me some of those essentials, I would love it. I'd be so appreciative. That's just one less thing I have to shop for. So, so let's also talk about experiences. I'm going to ask you to think right now and pause the podcast if you need to, and think about something that you have gotten that was the most expensive gift that you just absolutely knew that the person who gave it to you was super special, and you've never forgotten this gift. I tried. I couldn't think of anything. And I know I've gotten some pretty expensive gifts over the years. Um, and maybe that's just me. I don't know, but I can tell you that s- we don't take these things with us when we die. And so having the best of the best or the most expensive things or what have you is not as important as the things that we have, the memories that we share together. Um, I recently lost a family member, and I will tell you, we were sitting around this person as they were getting ready to make their transition, and we weren't talking about the gifts that this person gave us. We were talking about the presents that we were gifted and opened and whatnot. We talked about the things that we did together, the memories we shared, the vacations, the game nights, the dinners, the holidays, not the gifts that were exchanged, not the things that we have. There are a few things that we have in our lives that are sentimental to us, but ultimately, these are things that typically, after a few years, they wind up in the garage sale or donate pile. And we just we just need to focus on experiences and building memories. And these can include a weekend getaway. And again, you can set your budget to whether you want to spend a good lot for the whole family, maybe take a family trip somewhere, or you can just do like a small weekend getaway, a trip to a museum. Maybe have everybody write down their wish list of what they would like to do or where they would like to go, and kind of pick and choose from that. um, a family outing or a special dinner. Maybe you want to try a new restaurant in town that's typically you wouldn't go there. Maybe it's a little out of budget. Save up and hey, let's try this restaurant. Don't get me anything. Let's go to this place. I'd love to spend time together. Um, Concert tickets, workshops, or classes. A few years ago, my sister-in-law and we took a cooking class, and I thought I knew how to cook, but I learned how to make the most amazing scrambled eggs. And I'll tell you, that was one of the funnest things that we've done together was taking that food class together. Depending on your budget, maybe a spa day is a good choice. You can determine your budget for that as well. You can do something small like going to a nail salon and getting a pedicure, uh, whatever, all the way to massage, facial, mud wrap, I don't know. Whatever floats your boat and fits your budget and works for you and your family. And this is another fun one is a future date or adventure jar. Now this is I kind of touched on this a second ago was where you have everybody write down their wish list of places that they'd like to go. It can range from something small like a trip to uh, the next town over to try a new restaurant or shop in a new store that you've uh, piqued your curiosity or whatever, or going to an escape room or something like that. Throw them all in the jar, and then when you guys have some free time or during the holiday, pick something out of that jar and go and do it. This invites a little mystery and fun and excitement, and everybody ultimately gets their wish fulfilled at some point throughout the year. Um, you know, just one thing that you need to understand during the holidays is that uh, you can spend as little or as much as you like. If you don't feel like getting a gift for everybody in the family, you don't have to do that. Um, you can say, hey, we are scaling back this year and we would just like to spend time together. Would you be open to a game night? Or would you just be open to having a big family dinner? Or would you be interested in doing a Secret Santa or the dice game? Or sometimes there's that game where you have like a kind of a larger present in the center and then a bunch of little things and it's a big ball and everybody takes turns unwrapping it. Whatever you want to do that fits your family and that everybody is in agreement with works. If you are typically giving a gift to, let's say your brother and his wife and their 3 kids or whatever, maybe opt for something a little bit less expensive, like maybe a family game that they can all enjoy together, or an experience like tickets to a show or whatever. Uh, whatever fits your budget. And just remember, homemade gifts are also really special. People really love homemade things because not only does that say, hey, you spent time on making this for me, it also it says, this came from my heart. I didn't just click add to cart and hand over my credit card. You know, it's while those gifts are appreciated, they give us what we ultimately may want. There's nothing behind it. There's nothing, hey, I went out of my way and I knew that you like this color and so I weaved it into this. I made this blanket for you, or I don't know. If you're not artistic, that's okay. Maybe you're a baker. Maybe make somebody's favorite like banana bread, or if you're a whittler, you whittle something, or if you're a woodworker, everybody has their own special talents. If you are not artistic, the simplest thing you can do, and it really, really means a lot, is sitting down and writing a letter to that person and tell them how you feel about them. Tell them what makes them special to you in your life. And I guarantee you, they may never tell you, but they will keep that and they will treasure it forever. Those things really go a long way and they're very, very special. So, so one thing that it's important to do is, if you're scaling back, is to share that, and don't be afraid. You don't have to go into detail. You don't say, I have massive amounts of credit card debt. You don't have to feel embarrassed. You can just say, hey, things have really gotten out of control the last few years, and we're really trying to save. We want to take a big family vacation, or we're trying to recover from this year. It was a tough year. Or hey, you know we just we want to scale back because we think things have kind of gotten a little overdone and we're not into that so much anymore. And people should respect that. And if they don't, that's their problem. That's their materialism. And you don't have to feed into that. If you don't want to exchange gifts, that's okay. Offer solutions like the Secret Santa, you know, whatever works for you and your family, it works for you and it's right. Okay. So now let's move to our affirmations. You know, for um, for each category, there's 2 to 3, and I'm going to encourage you to either pause this and write them down and post them on your mirror for you to see every morning as you get ready, or play this podcast every day and really hear them. And there's something to be said about affirmations. And this is where my hypnotist magic comes in. And I'll tell you, um, affirmations are powerful. And I know they seem kind of silly, looking in the mirror and saying, "Hey, I love me." I know it's awkward and it's kind of weird, but it works. It does. And I want you to think about this in an alternative manner. And I know Dr. Brown will agree with me that it comes back to self-talk. When you tell yourself things like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I have imposter syndrome, your subconscious is listening to you. Your brain is absorbing that. And when you speak it out loud, you're believing it. So when you use negative self-talk, it's detrimental. But the good news is when you use positive self-talk, your subconscious and your brain hears those too, and it holds on to those things. And when you continue to repeat them, instead of saying, I'm not good enough, you say, I am good enough. I am capable. Those things start to grow and you change, your perception changes. You may not see it, but your subconscious does. And we can talk more about the subconscious. I could talk about that all day. So let's move on to these holiday affirmations. So if you're experiencing difficult family dynamics, you can say something like, my peace is more important than anyone's expectations. My peace is more important than anyone's expectations. I am allowed to choose what supports my well-being. I am allowed to choose what supports my well-being. I honor my limits without guilt or apology. I honor my limits without guilt or apology. And then for grief and missing loved ones, I allow myself to feel what I feel with tenderness. I allow myself to feel what I feel with tenderness. My loved one lives on in my memories, my heart, and my stories. My loved one lives on in my heart, my memories, and my stories. I can create new traditions while honoring the past. I can create new traditions while honoring the past. For financial pressure and consumerism, you can say something like, I don't need to overspend to show my love. I don't need to overspend to show my love. Simple can be meaningful. Simple can be meaningful. I choose peace over pressure. I choose peace over pressure. And for anyone who is opting out of the holidays this year, you want to stay home, eat that turkey sandwich, watch movies, you can say something like, I am allowed to create a holiday that works for me. I am allowed to create a holiday that works for me. Rest is just as sacred as celebration. Rest is just as sacred as celebration. My value doesn't depend on what I do, what I give, or whom I show up for. My value doesn't depend on what I do, what I give, or who I show up for. And those are your holiday affirmations. And if those don't work for you, these aren't set in stone. Feel free to adjust them, rewrite them, work them for however you work, as long as you are telling yourself something good, something positive that really reframes your holiday in a better light. This holiday season is not a test of loyalty, strength, or resilience. It's an invitation to rest, reflect, and choose what supports your emotional and mental well-being. I want to thank you for tuning in today and listening to Balance and Birch's podcast. Again, I'm Allie, the resident hypnotist. If you're interested in any of the services that Balance and Birch provides, please visit our website at balanceandbirch.com. And I want to remind you to have a wonderful holiday that works for you. Wishing you a balanced mind and a balanced holiday this year. Thanks.